What's up, everybody? Welcome to Recruiting Masters Podcast, episode 13, brought to you by the CFC Insider. I'm Katie Burt, content manager for CanadaFootballChat.com, alongside Clint Uttley, lead analyst and head of the CFC Scouting Bureau, and former youth sports head coach. Hey, Clint, what's up?
Not much, just enjoying the sunshine here on the West Coast.
So, the big day is barreling down on us here pretty quick.
Yeah, for sure. It's coming in. Things are slowly falling into place. Rosters are set. Travel arrangements are made. Coaching staffs are set. So, yeah, it's coming quickly.
And that big day is the CFC Prospect Game that is going to be broadcast on TSN on May 2nd. The game is being played on Saturday the 1st. So you can check that out. If you're not able to make it down to Ottawa, you can catch it the next day on TSN. So, Clint, we're going to talk about today just a little bit of the overview of the Prospect Game rosters that have gone out. It is on CanadaFootballChat.com, as well as a few questions that we've had regarding the roster. We're also going to get into the meat and potatoes of some of the matchups that you and I and a bunch of other people are really excited to watch. And then lastly, we're going to follow up with Offer That Guy, which we had, or you had done the segment on Crown Countdown with Jim Mullen and Gord Randall during the season. So, Clint, can you just kind of give us a little bit more about the roster and, I guess the breakdown of it? I know some people are thinking that we should be a little bit more representative of each province, and that's not really what this is about.
Yeah, the roster is pretty balanced for the most part. There's obviously not as many kids, say, for example, from the Maritimes where there's one to possibly two. And then the big question was the province of Quebec, which unfortunately the Football Quebec is running an event, prepping their own team, and it coincides with the day of our game, which, we went well out of our way to try and avoid any conflicts, and we did with most everybody, but we can't get it all. So are the best players from Quebec on the team? No. Hopefully we can kind of deconflict those things in the future, so we can get basically, the top players from across all the provinces into the game. So we have that roster that's like the legit roster, and the roster will never be balanced on provinces. It won't be. We're not in the world of like equity and inclusion. We're actually looking for the best players in the country. So however it shakes out, or however the roster is built or falls into place, will absolutely have nothing to do with the same amount of people from each and every province. It won't work that way. But however, as far as Quebec is concerned, we'll do our best to deconflict, and we'll do our best to get the best athletes across Canada into our game. And we're going to try and do that in year two.
So with that being said, it's going to be actually pretty exciting because for the most part up until now, most of these athletes have played together representing their provinces. But now you could have an Alberta kid playing against an Alberta kid or vice versa, things like that. So that will be pretty exciting to have all these athletes kind of mixed all over on these two teams. And so there's going to be some pretty dynamic matchups coming up.
There's for sure going to be players who have played on the same teams, wherever they're from. There's going to be players who have played both at the provincial level and possibly the national level. And they're always on the same team. And now they're going to be going against each other, which was part of our thinking when we actually developed it this way. And the fact that, there was essentially, we won't call it a draft, but the teams were set up in a manner where it was basically a balanced roster. Best kids, balanced roster. You may very well be going against your own high school teammate or somebody from your own conference, division, province, whatever. So, it's going to make for some really, really key, interesting matchups within the game itself.
So again, the event that we're talking about is the CFC Prospect Game that will be broadcast on TSN on May 2nd. That's the Sunday. The game is being played on June 1st, and so that game is really exciting. I think most of the kids too are just waiting to get on the field and get to Ottawa and just showcase what they can do. So be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, @ChatFootball, Instagram, CFC_football, and YouTube, and sign up for your exclusive CFC Insider membership today to hear about these next top prospects that we're going to talk about and these matchups for the rest of the show. So let's get right into it. Clint, we've got Team Dunnigan and we have Team Burrs. So that alone is going to be pretty fun to watch.
Yeah, well, you're looking at two of the. I'm 45 years old, and like as far as I'm concerned, you're looking at you're looking at two of the kind of the legendary quarterbacks from my age era. I mean, I know Coach Dunnigan is a little older than Coach Burris. However, they're just two names that are synonymous with CFL football and like outstanding quarterback play.
So the first matchup we're going to look at is Charlie Deland, a defensive back out of Alberta. Charlie is arguably one of the best coverage defensive backs that we observed during the tryouts. We feel that he's going to be a really good matchup for Oliver Longpre out of the Maritimes, a receiver. He is also one of the top game breakers in the class of 2020. What excites you about that matchup?
Well, kind of what excites me is, Charlie was one of the better man-to-man coverage DBs we saw across the country. Charlie goes to St. Francis, which is in Calgary. Olivier Longpre goes to Tantramar, which is in New Brunswick, which I don't think they've lost a game in, I don't know, forever.
11 years or something.
Olivier does all kinds of stuff from all kinds of different positions, and he's an outstanding returner. So you may see that matchup where Charlie may be in the slot and he may be covering Oliver. And it's going to be interesting to see how, it's just one of those things that you're super excited about. It's like, how does the top DB in Alberta cover down what might be the top player in the province of New Brunswick? It's those are the kind of matchups that we're excited to see and see how it shakes out. Both players have competed at every possible level of amateur football. So, I mean, that's another thing that plays into this. It's like you're talking about the best on the best. So that's one of the first matchups we're looking at.
And then this next one, we have a receiver out of the interior of BC, Nolan Alm, going up against another BC kid in the lower mainland, Taryn Birdie, defensive back. Alm is, when we looked at him at the tryouts, he just looks the part. He runs the part. Dude's like an athlete for sure. And then Birdie is he's just got length. He's one of these long, lanky, rangy defensive backs. He's super competitive, and he's an outstanding man-to-man defender. So you got two BC kids going up against each other. That's interesting.
Yeah, well, we saw how the roster shook out, and we know that Nolan can play inside, he can play outside. I mean, let's be honest. Nolan can play safety and or linebacker. He's one of the more physically impressive football players we saw right across the country. I mean, I think it was last week, didn't he put up, he power clean 275 for one or possibly two?
Twitter like that, yeah.
And he made it look like super easy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, on one side you got Nolan, who's just he's a Swiss Army knife, but like a super athletic, like physical freak Swiss Army knife. And then on the other side you got Taryn Birdie, who might be one of the top, he is one of the top DBs in his class in the sense that he's a matchup guy. So he basically gets the other team's best receiver, and he usually is locked on that person. So, I mean,
he's great with them.
Yeah, and you know what? To Birdie's credit, he's long, and he's uber competitive, and he has a habit of making big plays.
Yeah, he does.
And, I mean, sometimes...
In big games, not just regular games.
So, I mean, with Taryn, and the thing with Taryn is maybe Taryn will gamble a little bit here and there, and he is the true essence of a DB in the sense that he doesn't get beat, not very often at all. But he has a very, very short memory that's made up by an extensive amount of confidence.
Confidence. I like how you put that. And then another one that we're excited to watch is the linebacker Nathan Karabatsakis out of Manitoba, I believe. He's a physical presence. I believe he's 6'4". He's just a tall kid. And then you got two here that could possibly match up against Nathan is Omarion Martin and Ishi Mantega. You know, again, Ishi is a Manitoba kid, so that's another kind of match up against his rival or fellow teammate. These are three interesting characters.
Yeah. Well, Nathan is like your 6'4" linebacker. I'm hoping that when he gets recruited, wherever he ends up, that he stays at linebacker because I saw him in Winnipeg at the tryouts, and when we got into the competitive periods, it was obvious that he not only is 6'4" and 200 whatever plus pounds, but he actually has good movement skills, and he's a physical presence at the linebacker position.
He is, yeah.
Mostly as an interior backer. And then the two backs that there's going to be three backs on the other team, but I just picked these two because I was like, okay, so it'll be interesting when he goes against, is it Ishii or Ishay?
I think it's, well, we've been calling him Ishii.
So I think
sorry.
he corrected me like 3 times in Winnipeg, Ishay. Anyways, those two would have knocked heads like probably throughout their entire high school career because Nathan goes to St. Paul's, which is a perennial powerhouse, both in the province of Manitoba and nationally, and Vincent Massey, which basically kind of dethroned St. Paul's last year, winning the provincial title. So those two would know each other. And then I threw in O'Marion just because O'Marion he's like 2 or 3 years out.
He's a young kid, yeah.
He'll be one of the top, say, 3 to 5 prospects in his grad class, as we already have it pieced together when we put it out. But I mean, you got Ishay, who's like a power back who can run and catch. He can actually run routes and has awesome hands. And then you have Marion Martin. He can run the ball. And when he gets into space, he can take it the distance,
fast,
but he's a very natural runner. Mm-hmm. And he kind of has those.
Very smooth.
He's smooth, yeah. And like people I think sometimes forget just how young he is. So he's one of maybe 3 prospects who are super young who've made this game. So, I mean, that's where we kind of base that matchup on.
So, to hear about these next 9 matchups that we're going to talk about, you can for the CFC Prospect Game, you can sign up for your CFC Insider membership today at CanadaFootballChat.com. You just click the subscribe button, and you can finish your paperwork there.